EZA, Kale, and KEFLA just might be the best TURs. How's it, everybody? Celtic Link here. We're back for another Dokkan battle video. In today's video, we are here to update our monthly TUR tier list. Since we did get a TUR EZA, I felt like it was kind of necessary to update. Usually we do this update with the new Dokkan Fest release, but this unit is just so good. I feel like you really need to understand where they are in relation to everything else that has released. So in this video, we are going to update both of our tier lists. As many of you guys may know, we did start doing two tier lists, one to rank short content, battle hard formidable foes style, and one to rank long content, more along the red zones and other difficult events, while having brief mentions of festival battles. We weight these two types of events extremely differently because, as we have noticed since the 10th anniversary, so many different units have released that are accommodating to one or the other. No one unit can sort of do it all since the 10th anniversary, and that is okay. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's hop on in. So remember, the things we look for in a unit when we are ranking them are consistency, versatility, and power. We will look at those three to decide where to place Kale and KEFLA. Now, I am showing you my previous tier list the last time we made this list because I feel like this is an important step in the process, right? A lot of tier lists will show you from blank and then, you know, filling in, 10 to 1. I feel that it's much better and gives you a greater understanding of where they are in relation to the units and how the meta is shifting, while also still understanding that, just because the unit is moving doesn't mean they're necessarily now bad, right? What tended to happen before in that old style of tier list is a lot of times once a unit is not pictured in a list or not mentioned in a video, people would tend to think that, well, that unit is no more any good. But I'm here to show you that just because they're moving doesn't mean things aren't good. It just means we're getting somebody slightly better up at the top. So just to recap, for our red zones, right, we had STR, Goku, and Gohan at number 10. The main reason being, right, with all the things we said, consistency, versatility, and power, right? They do have a lot of power behind them, can build up very quickly. They are very versatile in the types of teams that they can go on, being a Super Saiyan Goku and Gohan unit. But their main drawback was consistency, right? They are hinged on additional supers that don't always proc, and they do need a lot of time to build up. So that's why we had placed them at number 10. AGL Cell for the same reason, although the main reason was his consistency, right? While he does have power, while he is fairly versatile for a villain unit, consistency, he is dependent on his additional supers in his in his first form and his second form, where you can't really control what he does. And so that's why we had placed him at number 9. 8 and 7 were the New Year's units of Pycon and Janemba. All the same reasons for the long content. Janemba got ranked slightly higher just because he does serve a lot better in the longer content because he can stack more and build up more. Pycon not as much, especially with the newer long content being dodge cancel at the end. That was extreme detriment to him, although he does have the usher at that point, right? If once that doesn't happen, once you lose that, if you don't kill, he could find himself in some trouble. And he also did sort of lack power, but his versatility and consistency is kind of what drove him forward over the others. Moving forward, right, we had Daima Vegeta at number 6. I know this was a controversial pick, but I have found him to be pretty well consistent, pretty well versatile, although his power was a little bit lower, right? He is on a lot of good teams that help him to function in a lot of these stronger events. Kid Goku, by the time we get to number 5, right, they pretty much hit the nail for consistency, for versatility, and for power. And it's just basically a scale of what? right? Kid Goku, right, has power, he has versatility, he has consistency, right? He's gonna be doing what he needs to do in the third slot no matter what team he's on, which is providing that defensive support and supporting categories like DV Saga, like the new Kid Goku, or Bond of Friendship. So it's really, really good there. Or Dragon Ball Seekers. Daima Goku at number 4 for obvious reasons, right? We know how good he is. He is versatile, he is consistent, and he does lack a little bit of power, but it is enough given what his super attack effect is doing for the units. And then of course Glorio, being what Glorio is, not only does he have power after a couple of turns, he's got great support, he's got you know, the ability to stun and attack lower multiple times in a turn. That really earned him his spot at number 3. And for a while at number 1, we followed up with Hit at number 2, right? Being that he had an extreme amount of power, right? He built up very fast. He is pretty versatile given the teams that he can go on. He can go on. While his teams are a little bit limited, right, they can pretty much take on any event. And then, of course, consistent. He is fairly consistent. But, of course, Kid Goku takes the reins on all 3 of those categories compared to all of the other units. So that begs the question, well, where do Kale and Caulifla fit into this? I had a hard time placing this one and making this adjustment because I felt like this whole list, for me, everybody is really, you know, doing what they need to do and being very solid at it. The part that really stuck out to me was after running these guys in Festival of Battles and the Red Zone Jiren. They build fast. Honestly, they build faster than Hit, right? We're talking about a unit that by their 4th appearance is over 3 million defense, like raw, right? In Festival of Battles, they will reach 24 million defense raw long before you ever get to Vegito. And just to understand, like, that is enough to tank Vegito's super 24 million defense, right? So you combine that with the fact that, like, they are throwing out, like in Jiren, you will often see them throwing out 60 to 70 million attack stats, you know, multiple times in turn by the time you transform them into KEFLA, and to boot, they have an amazing dodge capacity, right, with great chances to dodge, and in their base form, a building dodge, right? So in terms of power, it is there. They are arguably the most powerful TUR. They are pretty versatile, being that they are a Saiyan, being that they are joint forces, being that they are a fusion. They are on all the best teams currently in Dokkan. And then of course they are consistent. You put them in front of a boss and they will do what they need to do, and they're gonna do it quick. And so given that, honestly, and I know this is crazy, I might put them above Dokkan Fest Hit. Now I do value hits Ghost Usher very much, right? You guys know how high that is on my list. But if we're comparing consistency, these guys are doing it way better, right? For a good chunk, right? Both of these guys don't have any kind of guard or damage reduction. It's just dodge and raw defense, right? Hits dodge mechanic is the same as UI Goku's, where it builds as he dodges. Whereas these guys have none. But the difference is these guys build defense so fast, they don't need it. They're tanking Jiren Super by their 3rd or 4th appearance, right? It's just that crazy. So I really do think that they deserve the spot at number 2. I don't quite think they're better than Kid Goku. I think Kid Goku's got a lot going on for him, especially since he has built-in crit. Well, 55%, these guys have none, and he also builds up quick. So given that, right, of course we have to adjust our list down here, so we got to move everybody down a patch here. and that actually bumps these guys off here into the honorable mentions, right? So I try to keep these honorable mentions here just to show you that like all of these units could be anywhere off the top 10, but are still very viable and useful on teams, right? And so just because Caulifla and Kale are coming in here and jumping up at number 2 doesn't mean anybody below them is any worse. It just means they are that good. So that is kind of where I place them for the red zone events, right? These are the longer style events. This is where they excel. So the question is, what about battle hardened formidable foes? This is a tough one to place them. As you guys can see here, right? Again, still looking at power, consistency, and versatility for the event. When we last did this, right, we placed the 2 cells at the bottom because while they do work in the event very well, you are basically playing to a revive mechanic and stalling until you can transform to AGL cell, and like that sort of combo I didn't feel was very it's not very consistent, right? Whether playing to cells dodge, whether you're playing to the others the STR cells revive, or just begging AGL cell to do an additional super, right? I felt like that kind of put them in the lower end, although they can still be useful in battle hardened formidable foes. Now Kid Goku, for obvious reasons, he's up here, right? No matter what event, because he has no build, he just is, right? He slots in very well to this event, right? We had the Janemba a little bit lower on this one at number 8, simply due to the fact that, right, here he's going to have a good chunk of his damage reduction and most of his defense during the fights, but he's not going to be putting out all that much damage, and he's not going to be building as much as he could to be useful, because of course he does need much more time in order to do that. Glorio, we put him here for the same thing. Now, he does have a lot of use in Battle Hardened Formidable Foes because of his attack lowering and his ability to stun, but you typically aren't running 2 of him, which is what you need to really see him as most effective in Battle Hardened Formidable Foes. And of course, that means you are running only 1, so he's not going to be getting his full buffs. And he's going to be a lot more reliant on dodge here than some of these other characters are, just because like in this fight the bosses hit a lot harder a lot earlier on, and because they hit a lot harder, that actually brings us to our number 6. AGL Goku, for the 4 turns that you are going to be spending in most of these fights, is basically invincible. He's got power in that regard of his defense. He is consistent in tanking those attacks, and he is a very, very versatile unit for these fights. Moving on, of course, at number 5 we had Pycon. Him and his Ghost Toucher make him incredibly valuable for Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, and that's why we do have him ranked so high. Goku, once again, for obvious reasons, the support, the dodge, doing everything he needs to do to make the team better. Now, 1, 2, and 3 are kind of an odd pick, I'll say, right? I will admit that, my number 2 pick is a bit controversial, but I am pretty confident in Hit being number 1 for this fight. While he doesn't get a lot of his build, he's not going to be building up to some crazy attack. The fact that you're going to get his Ghost Usher turn 3 to 4 makes him incredibly valuable in that fight, right? And especially if you're running a double hit lead. Daima Vegeta was, he is consistent. He is pretty versatile given what he is. Even though he is locked to slot 1, he does do very well there. I know a lot of people like to hate on what he does there, but I don't think it's that bad. And then Kid Goku, right, with everything that he's doing, he's incredibly useful in the event, right? He can dodge, he can stack, he can stun, right? Like, he can do all of these things that are very, very useful. So the question is, where does KEFLA and Kale stand here? Honestly, if I were to place them anywhere, I would, for Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, they're probably going right at number 5, right in the middle of the road. And the reason I say this is because in Battle Hardened Formidable Foes, you are never, unless you really, really stall, you are never going to see them transform, which is really what you want out of them, which means they are going to be locking a lot of their power, right, as you're not going to be able to see it in this event. They are pretty versatile given the fact that they are a Saiyan type unit, and they are doing what they are supposed to do, consistency. So for those reasons, we had to place them at number 5, just because you're missing out on a good portion of what makes them good and what makes them necessary for closing business on some of these fights. But number 5, I feel like for Battle-Hardened Formidable Foes is a fair placement for them. They are good, they're going to be consistent, they just aren't going to be doing it well enough compared to characters like Kid Goku or Hit in this fight. So guys, that is it for the video. That is our tier list for both Red Zone and Battle-Hardened Formidable Foes. I'm definitely a lot more comfortable with the Red Zone tier list here. I would even argue that, you know, anybody in the groups of 3s is interchangeable. So 1 to 3 is pretty interchangeable. 4 to 6 is pretty interchangeable. 7 to 10 is pretty interchangeable. But I am pretty confident in the overall list. So guys, if you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and in the comments down below let us know, right? This was our opinion, this is our assessment based on these 3 categories, but let us know how you would rank the units and who you would put at your number 1 or number 2 unit. I feel like Kale and Caulifla very much deserve the spot that they're at now. But let us know what you think in the comments down below. Otherwise guys, as always, thanks for watching and aloha.